Hello friends and welcome back. This video is titled Mom Wakes After Flatlining and Says Names She Shouldn't Know. This one's a doozy. There are things in this world that are beyond our comprehension and remain concealed until they are shown to us by unknown forces, perhaps as a message or some sort of warning. A marriage can be like that at times. Tina Haye's marriage appeared to be picture perfect. However, there were some secrets that could only be revealed by a strange, higher force. Tina and Brian Hayes resided in Arizona and appeared to be the epitome of a happily married couple. They had it all. They had been together since high school and had a beautiful wedding as soon as Brian graduated from college. Every marriage, though, has its own set of secrets. And they'd have to come out eventually, whether you want them to or not. Brian worked tirelessly as a financial advisor in Phoenix. As a thank you for all of his hard work, Brian's firm gave him extra vacation days and Tina took it upon herself to plan a getaway for Brian. She decided that they would go for a hike. They had no idea that the vacation would forever change their lives. Tina thought that a hike was exactly what Brian needed. Away from the tension and bustle of the city, there was fresh air and magnificent scenery. They were finally able to unwind and spend much-needed time together. But what appeared to be a peaceful escape would quickly turn into a dramatic occurrence that would jeopardize all they believed they knew about relationships, existence, and the world. They were both attempting to ascend a cliff. Brian was leading the route and advising Tina on the finest cuts and boulders to grab to make her journey simpler. Before we continue, if you like this video, please like, comment, or subscribe. We'd greatly appreciate it. Now back to the video. But then there was a loud noise. He turned around, frightened, and saw something that made his heart skip a beat. Tina had plummeted to the earth from a considerable height and was immobile. Brian hurried down the cliff, holding his breath, to see whether his wife was okay. However, she had passed out. What had begun as a relaxing weekend in the hills had quickly turned into a disaster. Brian dialed 911 and hoped for a miracle to happen. The moment the ambulance arrived, they began CPR on Tina. However, things were looking bleak. Tina was immediately transported to the hospital to give her better odds of survival. Tina's heart stopped beating just as she was about to be brought to the emergency ward. Everyone was expecting the very worst. There was still one more thing that could be done for her. Tina's heart was restarted with the help of a defibrillator. That appeared to work for a brief moment, however, her heart then stopped for the second time. This happened twice more, and everyone was starting to get discouraged. Tina's heart continued to stop and start after 6 tries. The surgical staff was already planning how they would give the terrible news to Brian. But then, out of nowhere, something happened that no one could have predicted. Tina's essential processes began to function again, and she began to regain consciousness. Would she be able to make it? Tina felt unusually calm after regaining consciousness, which was odd given what she had just endured. However, there was a purpose for this. She had 2 crucial messages to deliver. She was having difficulty speaking, so she requested a pen and paper and began writing. Her hands were trembling as she wrote her message, and it was hard for the doctors and Brian to decipher it. But after a few hours, once she was able to speak, Tina uttered the word, Lorraine. And when Brian heard that name, his stomach dropped. Tina was experiencing a strong feeling of elation. Later, she explained that she had had a vision of heaven. A figure of a man wearing a long robe had come close to her. Instantly, she knew it was Jesus. But he came with a woman, and it took Tina a while to see who she was. It was her sister Lorraine, dead 7 years ago. But when Brian heard that name, he thought about a completely different person. He remembered that woman called Lorraine with whom he had a one-night affair years ago while out on a business trip. It had been the only time he had cheated on Tina, and even the only woman he had ever slept with apart from her wife. Tina was ecstatic. She had been grieving for her sister Lorraine since she died in a car accident years ago. But now she knew that Jesus was with her and she was all right. Tina was a religious woman, and this vision strengthened her faith. But Brian felt guilty. Now, after Tina's description of her vision, he was positive that the woman he had slept with years ago was, unknowingly, his wife's sister. He had been carrying the guilt of that encounter for years and never told anything about it to any living soul. Finally, after they came back home from the hospital, Brian couldn't bear with it anymore and he broke down. He confessed to Tina about his past affair, swore that it had been just one night and that he didn't know it was her sister. Tina was shocked by the confession. While Brian cried, kneeling in front of his wife, she remained silent for a while and then said some words. She forgave her husband, despite his outrageous infidelity. If there was something she had learned from her vision, it was this: she had been right in her religious beliefs. There was an afterlife, there was a superior, magnanimous good, and it was her duty to be righteous and forgiving. After this episode, the Hayes was more united than ever and became more strengthened in their compromise, their beliefs, and their values. That's the end of this video. Thank you for watching. As always, if you like this video, please like, comment, or subscribe, and we'll see you in our next video.